everybody, and welcome to October's reading. I thought today would be the perfect day to film because it is Mabon, which, if any of you don't know, Mabon is the fall equinox. It feels like a very auspicious day to take a look at what's coming in October. We also just had the partial full moon eclipse, so there's a lot of good energies all around us right now. So October is the perfect time for shadow work. For any of you that don't know, shadow work is bringing forth any unconscious desires, thoughts, actions, emotions that are actually running in the background. So you might think all these positive thoughts or be working really hard to change your life in a certain way, and you just can't seem to get ahead. Oftentimes this is because there are thoughts or actions or beliefs that you don't even realize yet that are kind of undermining everything that's going on. So I thought we could uncover those today, and I thought it would be really fun to connect with the elements of nature. So earth, fire, water, air, and I also connected those to each of the seasons as well, just for fun. And right now I just have our pile pickers kind of in place of those. So the way today's reading is going to work is we're going to do north to represent earth, we're going to do east to represent fire, south to represent water, and west to represent air. I chose those because they felt very fitting. I felt like earth kind of felt connected to winter, and in the northern hemisphere where I am, the further north you go, the colder it gets. So I chose north to represent earth, and the question that we will be asking from that element, is what unconscious toxic expectations do I have of myself and others? From the east, I chose fire. It makes me think of the rising sun, new sparks of life. So I chose fire and east for spring. So for the east and for fire, we want to find out what unconscious toxic actions am I taking that I need to be aware of. For the south, I chose to connect that to summer and water. I chose summer because, again, further you go south where I am, the warmer it gets. And I chose water because to mark the summer solstice, it is entering the astrological sign of Cancer. I don't know very much about astrology, but I do know that it's entering that, and Cancer is a water sign, so it felt very fitting that way. For the south, we want to know what unconscious toxic judgments am I making about myself and others. Lastly, for the west, I chose to associate that with fall and air. Things are dying, the chill is coming into the air, and then as well, Mabon, we are entering Libra season, which is an air sign. So for the fall and for air, I wanted to find out what unconscious toxic thoughts am I thinking. So to recap, we are going to find out the expectations that I have for myself and others, the actions I'm taking that I need to be aware of, the judgments I'm making, and the thoughts I'm thinking. Earth, fire, water, air. I'm going to pull 1 to 2 cards to find out what the toxic trait is related to each of those signs. And then we're going to pull 3 cards to show how you can release that. And then at the very end, we're going to do a little ritual or spell for each element to help you release these things. The decks we'll be using today, we have the World of Warcraft deck. You cannot get this anymore. I am so happy I got this when I found it. It makes me very happy. It feels very October. So I'll be using that to find the toxic trait. And then we have the dragons coming back. This is Tarot of Dragons by Sean Mackenzie, and they will help us determine how to release that toxic trait. So, in addition to your gourds for selectors, I have quite a few other selectors as well because of the ritual that I want to do for each one. For pile 1, we have the white pumpkin. I also have a little maple leaf, this horn cup, little stone, and the scent that we're going to use with the white pumpkin is sandalwood. For our green acorn squash, we have an Oregon grape leaf, and for all the leaves, they're kind of not doing too well in one way or another, and so we're going to have fun burning those later. This springy little shot glass that's colorful, and this little round stone. The scent we have is lavender. I am not quite sure what this is. Some kind of orange gourd. For our orange gourd, not sure exactly what this one's called. An alder leaf. This metal carabiner mug that used to say, "Go climb a rock." And the rock we have is this squarish, kind of tan looking one. And the scent we'll be using for you is sage. For pile 4, we have a baby butternut squash, perfect for fall. Your leaf that we'll be burning is a hazelnut leaf. The cup is this fun little tin mug cup from REI with some mountains, a little picturesque image on it, and this lovely round kind of speckled rock. And the scent that we'll be using for you is Nag Champa. All of these smell so good. So go ahead and pick your pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4, and jump to the timestamp below, and we'll get right into your reading. All right, welcome pile 1 if you chose the white pumpkin, and let's go ahead and light your incense. So this is sandalwood. This is going to represent uncovering all of your unconscious expectations, actions, judgments, and thoughts. In particular, we are going to use this as the ritual for uncovering your unconscious toxic thoughts. And I'm going to let this burn out completely. And when it does, it's going to help facilitate letting those go. So, let's go ahead and start with the north. We have this stone to represent your unconscious, toxic expectations. What unconscious, toxic expectations do I have of myself and others? Oh, those came up right away. Okay. You expect people to do what they're not able to do. You want from others what they simply cannot give, whether it's because they're things that you're able to do or that are simple for you. But just because something is simple for you doesn't mean that it's simple for other people. And I think a lot of times people feel like they can't stack up to your expectations, including yourself. You expect yourself and others to bend over backwards because it seems like this is so simple. It should be easy to do this. But just because it seems that way doesn't mean that it is. And there are a lot of other things at play that are affecting the situation, or things that you think people should be able to do and they simply can't. Let's see what will be the best way for you to let this go. Beautiful dragons. How can our pile 1 let go of unrealistic expectations of other people? I also think that sometimes maybe you think that other people are smarter than you, or you think they have it all figured out, and that you don't, and that maybe you get frustrated with them for not doing certain things because you think that they know the answers or that it will be easy for them when they don't. You think that you're struggling with something and that they're not, and so you expect them to handle a situation or handle certain things when they're just as clueless about it as you are. If that makes sense. Okay. Alright, lovely dragons, how can they let this go? Keep in mind that they're just as confused about everything as you are. They're just as overwhelmed. They're just trying to figure everything out too. And they're trying really hard. And so just remember that and realize that you guys are all on the same team. You can be having so much fun if you both have good ideas, good thoughts, good strengths that you can bring together. And so rather than expecting them to handle or take care of certain things, work with them and make it a game, like make it fun. Things in life can be so much more fun when you go into situations as a team and just trying to make the best of it, because they don't know any more than you do. So those are the unconscious expectations you have, both of yourself and of other people. So to help you let this go, remember, always try and just keep that in mind, that you both are on the same page and that other people aren't any more privy to any other information than you are most of the time. And if they are, they're not necessarily trying to keep it from you. They want to work with you and be on your team. So, what I want to do now is we're going to perform a little ritual to help you let go of these expectations. And what we're going to do is smash your rock into pieces. And when we do that, allow that to just smash those expectations into a million little pieces. All right, let's go. All right, my lovely pile one, white pumpkins. I would like to call your spirit guides and angels to help facilitate this ritual. With the smashing of this stone, we are going to release all of your expectations, all of your toxic expectations of yourself and others. I hope I can do this. I really don't want to let those go. Come on. And with that, so let them be gone. All right, that was intense. Oh my gosh, your rock did not want to smash. So that just shows me it's going to be really hard to let go of those expectations, especially since they're probably just kind of really realizing that that's what you've been doing. But I have complete faith in you. It's going to happen. So let's move on now. We're going to take a look at what unconscious toxic actions that you're taking that you need to be aware of. So let's go ahead and start. Actions. Wow, okay, I think it looks like you're running away from things when the tension rises just a little bit too much. This could apply to anything. It could be tension, it could be not that you're afraid to face a struggle. I think when it feels like things get too heated, too high emotional, you will run away, or you'll kind of like turn your back on it and not look back. Very interesting. Okay, let's see how we can combat that. For any other information. Oh, got a lot here. Okay, what do we have? Yeah. When things feel like they're moving too fast for you and you are about to turn around and walk away, it's going to be hard, but you need to slow down, reground. If you can carry a stone or a coin, something solid and hard in your pocket or as like a bracelet or around your neck on a necklace, something that when you start feeling overwhelmed, you hold on to it and just squeeze it. Feel the hardness of it, feel the solidness of it, and just sit with that a moment. Come into yourself and ground and mentally take a step back from the situation so that you're almost looking down on it from above, so that you can deal with it without having to be quite as emotionally attached and invested in it, the problem. So for example, if you're having an argument, you start to turn away. Things are happening fast, they're getting heated, there's like a lot happening. Turn away for a moment if you need to, but hold that item in your pocket, in your hand, grab it, and just come into yourself. And pause for a moment. And turn back around and just gain that higher perspective. Oh God, I wish I could explain or describe these better. You basically are kind of almost going to step out of your body of sorts, detach, totally just cut off and detach emotionally from the situation so that you can deal with it head on from a more logical and clear perspective and point of view. That will help you. So, to help facilitate that, we are going to burn this little leaf. Angels and spirit guides of our lovely Pile 1 white pumpkins, by burning this leaf, this will signal to them to give them the strength and grounding that they need to be able to handle confrontation, to be able to handle intense situations, and not walk away from them anymore. I know it's hard and a scary thing to do, but when you face it head on, when you come down into yourself, you can handle anything. Oh, that was exciting. This is feeling really good, and like a lot is being released here. Let's move on now to what unconscious toxic judgments are you making about yourself and others? We have our cup of water to represent those judgments. Pile 1, what unconscious toxic judgments are they holding about themselves and others? Oh my gosh, that King of Blades again. This is all stemming back to those same expectations. You're judging others, thinking that they're more capable than they are. You think that everybody else knows what they're doing, that they've made their plans, that they've decided, or you could actually even be judging them for not being as far along as you are, or for having made the right plans or taken the right steps. To you, it is so clear to see what somebody else should do, to see what would help them solve their issues, but you're judging them for not making the decisions that are so obvious to you. But it's not obvious to them because they're in it. I'm sorry if a lot of this sounds harsh. I mean, I guess that's what shadow work is. But you need to give other people a little bit more grace for the mistakes that they make. If, for example, say somebody spends money in a way that you don't agree with, or you think that they've been swindled in a certain way, or they could have gotten it cheaper here or there, they should have spent this money in a much better way. But the way they did spend it was the best that they could do at that time. Whether they didn't know better or whether they have other struggles that they're dealing with impulse control or emotions that get in the way or mental struggles that they might have. You need to realize that they're doing the best that they can do and let go of needing them to be better than they are or something that they're not, because they are who they are and they're perfect for that. And a lot of these judgments are probably stemming from you being harshly judged yourself in the past, whether by people around you or by yourself. Let's go ahead and take a look at, from the dragons, the best way to let go, to not judge others so much. You're a lot smarter than you think you are, and other people aren't going to think of the same things that you do. They're not as capable as you are, and you may not think that you're that smart, but you are. Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah. Give people the grace. You're strong and confident and intelligent, but you need to give others the grace to be what they are if they're not that way as well. And once you just start letting people be who they are, you'll be able to love them for it. You'll be able to not always be annoyed, feeling like everyone around you is stupid. You had experiences growing up that others didn't, that helped you learn things in a way that they didn't. And it's something that you could be really grateful for, because it helps you see things in a way that others don't. But you need to allow them to see things the way they see it too. So, to help you release these judgments of others, we are going to pour out and release the water from this cup. Guides and angels of our lovely Pile 1 white pumpkins, please help them release their toxic judgments of themselves and others. As I pour this water out, allow those judgments to pour out of them. And so it is done. Yes. I know you have this in you. You are so strong. All right, our final one, and it is already done because your incense has burnt down, which means you know that your spirit guides and your angels are behind you on this. Everything that you've gone through today, you've opened up a lot of knowledge, and you now have all the tools that you need to work through all these struggles that you may have that may be holding you back from your best life. So at the very last, we're going to find out what unconscious toxic thoughts you might be thinking. Always comes back around. Can I get one more clarifier, please? Oh my gosh. I think you don't always have people's best interest in mind when you do things, or when you're trying to make decisions for yourself. Yeah. I think sometimes you struggle because when making decisions, when thinking things through, you tend to think rather selfishly about things and not necessarily intending to stab people in the back or hurt them, but if something benefits you, you're thinking of going with that. Again, these are just thoughts. When we went over your actions, we did not see that. So that's good. It doesn't look like you're necessarily taking actions on these thoughts, but I think that maybe you do tend to have a more selfish thinking, which is totally human. A lot of people do, and they don't act on it. I think that it bothers you, though, that you think these things. Otherwise, it wouldn't be coming up, and you're not really sure how to let it go. So let's go ahead and see what thoughts the dragons have on that. Wow. I'm just impressed. All these pentacles. Actions speak louder than words. And thoughts. Actions are louder than thoughts. They're more solid. So it's finding that balance. What you can do is when you are thinking these things, don't try and suppress it. Let it come to the surface. Let the thought through. Recognize it for what it is. And then think, okay, now that I've thought that, well, maybe what would be good for the both of us, or what would also be good for them, and how can I balance between these two? It might be difficult at first, but the Queen is excellent at attending to the needs of others, but also careful not to attend to the needs of others at the detriment of yourself. That can exacerbate those selfish thoughts, because you'll start to think, well, what about me too? I need this too. So that is very true. You need to balance what you give to yourself and what you give to others. And when you can give to yourself equally, but not necessarily more than what you're giving to your family and your loved ones and others, when you can find that balance, those thoughts won't be so pervasive. And they'll naturally dissipate because you don't feel like you need to always be looking out for yourself, because you know that you're getting taken care of also. I hope that helped. I hope that gave you a lot of insight. Watch this again, save the video, watch it throughout the month, each week, so you can make sure to keep everything in mind. Again, find yourself a stone, a pendant, something that you can hold on to when you feel like walking away from a situation, and ground yourself. You might get a little too emotionally involved into things, so by keeping that higher perspective and focusing on balance between all parties, I think will go a long way. Thank you so much, beautiful pile ones. I love your white pumpkin. It's been one of my favorite decorations. And I hope you have a fantastic and spooky October. All right, see you next month. Bye. Welcome, pile twos. You have chosen our little lovely, I think it's an acorn squash. We'll find out when we eat it. I'm gonna enjoy some of this stuff tonight. And let's go ahead and light your lavender incense. By lighting this, I am calling in your angels and spirit guides to help you release all your unconscious, toxic thoughts, expectations, actions, judgments of yourself and or others. And I will let this go until it burns out completely. This incense also represents your unconscious toxic thoughts. So once it is completely burned out, it is letting those burn away from your mind. We are bringing everything to the forefront as it burns and letting it blow away. Let us begin with earth and the stone. What unconscious, toxic expectations do I have of myself and others? Expectations. The High Priestess and Death. Wow. I think you expect others to be as enlightened as you are and act accordingly. You're very, very intuitive, and you know things, and you can see things and access information that others can't. And I think you expect others to be able to kind of intuit the same things that you can. And when they can't, you get frustrated with them. And you may understand this, but on a deeper level, you still expect others to be able to see the way that you do. And it frustrates you when they can't. Let's get some more information. Lavender smells so good. It's one of my favorite incenses. I'm not really sure what this means. Dive deeper. Dive deeper into your anxieties and frustrations to come out the other end, to come out the other side of it. I'm seeing like it's almost a diving in, like a death and rebirth, like a caterpillar, the butterfly standing out to me and then coming out victorious. So basically, you want to really dive into that feeling of frustration. Let it almost overwhelm you is kind of what I'm getting, until it just breaks. That's the best way I can think of to put it. You'll feel it until it just breaks, and suddenly you've overcome it. You'll be above it. Allow yourself to feel that frustration with other people not meeting your expectations, and feel it and feel it and feel how frustrated it makes you, and just allow it to be. Just allow that, and then eventually it'll just stop. You're gonna have to try it to you're gonna have to try it to experience it. I think I don't have better words for it. It's just dive deep until it breaks and comes out on the other side. I'm so sorry I don't have anything further on that. Let's see if there's any other. This one. Yeah. I think by diving deep, because it's like you can't understand it, that you finally will understand how other people feel. Because you get so frustrated that they can't understand, that you are not understanding it, and you realize that they're mirror images of each other, and you being frustrated with them for not being able to see the way that you can is the same thing as not being able to see why they can't see it. And I think when you really feel into it, it'll just click, and you can see that they're just two different perspectives. And you'll be able to come out on the other side of that and be able to see others and not expect from them what you can do, just as they should not expect from you what they can do. It's interesting. I've found that so many of these are always so strongly tied to all the others. Now, to help facilitate this letting go of expectations, we are going to shatter your rock into as many pieces as we can. Alright. I would like to call on the angels and spirit guides of our lovely Pile 2 green acorn squashes to help them release these now conscious toxic expectations that they have of others. Oh wow. That split perfectly into two pieces. Let's see if I can find them. So I was just able to find the one piece, but it split perfectly in half, representing your perspective and their perspective. Now you can let go of those expectations. Well, that was super exciting. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move on to what unconscious toxic actions are you taking that you need to be aware of? We have the Oregon grape leaf to represent this. It is for fire, so what we're going to do at the end is burn away these toxic actions. I don't know if this is necessarily toxic, but it would benefit you to not do this, is charging into things before you have them a little bit more figured out. It's always really good to leap into things with excitement and enthusiasm, but sometimes just charging in and taking control of situations that you are not fully aware of everything that's gone into them can put people's backs up, and it can end up hurting things in the long run or even just the short run. It can be frustrating and damaging for those around you. Imagine that you are working on a project and you tell a friend or brother, somebody about it, and they get excited and want to come in with you. And then they just charge in and kind of take it over or take control of it and start doing their own things with it and changing it and totally taking it in a different direction without kind of seeing what you were already doing or asking you about it or wanting to know if you even wanted to go in this direction or wanted their help. It's like help and input where it's not necessarily wanted. So let's see. I think this might be my pile. Basically, just chill out. Back off a little bit. Like, usually this Eight of Swords is seen as kind of a trapped feeling, but sometimes you need to tie yourself up a little bit, like gain a little bit of restraint. When you see yourself starting to charge into something, take a step back and chill out and kind of gain a little bit of that impulse control. You will find that you can really, really enjoy things when you take a back seat and kind of let others handle what's going on. Just chill, have a drink, hang back, and see how things work before jumping in and trying to take over or put your input in on everything. Yeah. Let other people handle things sometimes. So, to help release this toxic action, let's go ahead and burn away the little Oregon grape leaf. Call upon the angels and spirit guides of our lovely pile 2 acorn squashes to help release their toxic actions that they take that are now conscious. So this is going to be a really hard habit to let go of. All right, well, it looks like you may have a hard time letting go of that action or recognizing when you're doing it and not feeling justified in doing so. But if you can, do your best. So now let's go ahead and take a look at what unconscious toxic judgments are you making about yourself and others. We have our water to represent that. I think you might tend to find other people a little too emotional or inconsistent with their emotions, or like almost a hairpin trigger of sorts. Basically, things may upset others that don't upset you, and you have a hard time understanding why they're getting all riled up about something. Yeah. They're feeling bad about something that maybe you said or did, and you are not understanding why. And you're judging them for it. You get frustrated with others because you feel like they're too sensitive, almost, of sorts, and get upset too easily, which then makes you upset. Let's see what our dragons have to say about it. Yep, this seems to cause just frustration and arguments two different perspectives. You're not necessarily accepting, you're judging others for their perspectives, basically. And it's going to cause arguments. If you want to, you have the intuition to see their side of things. But it almost seems like you're being stubborn about it and not trying to see why they might be upset. So to let this go, you really need to let go of the combativeness, the me versus you, the I'm feeling frustrated with you right now and I'm right and you're not. Try and take a step back from that. You need to tap into your higher intuition. Really try and take a look at what they're experiencing and why they might be feeling the way that they're feeling about something. So, for example, like in here, this dragon, maybe she's cold, and this one's basking in the sun, and the sun's shining on him, and he's like, I don't know why you're cold, it's really hot here. And he's going to judge her for feeling that way and be frustrated with her without really pausing to think about, okay, well, she's in the water and maybe she's cold. These are just random examples, but little things like that, where if you actually stopped and thought about maybe where they are coming from, you wouldn't be judging their feelings about things. So hopefully that can help give you some insight into why people get upset with you and you are baffled by it. To help let go of these judgments, we have our shot glass of water here. We're going to go ahead and pour that out to release everything. Angels and spirit guides of our lovely pile 2, Acorn squash pile, please help us let go of the judgments that we make on others, not understanding their emotions. When we pour this water, we're allowing our emotions to pour out of us so that we can then take a look at perhaps where the other person is coming from. Thank you. All right, lovely pile 2s, we are on the final element, the element of air, represented by our lovely lavender incense here. I'm going to let this burn down all the way, and when it has finished, we'll release any unconscious, soon to be made conscious, toxic thoughts that you are thinking. So let's go ahead and see what those are. Conscious, toxic thoughts. It's that judging of others for not seeing things from their perspective. It's just coming right back around to that. You have a lot of harsh thoughts and frustrations that you're feeling about others because you're refusing to see things from their perspective. Let's see what the dragons have to say about it. I think more than anything, you get frustrated. You get really frustrated with people. You're not even thinking mean things about them necessarily. I mean, you could be thinking, for some of you, you're thinking just really mean things about them. But for others, you're just incredibly frustrated because you cannot understand why these other people are acting the way they are, or doing the things that they're doing. But if you stop to look at things and think of things from their perspective, you would. Got this. You might be critical of your partner, wanting them to be able to do more than they can. Interesting. I think it was pile 1 that got a similar message. You might think that somebody is capable in things that they're not necessarily capable of, and you are thinking harsh thoughts about them, thinking that they should do better or more, when really if you looked at who they are as a person and what the thoughts that they may be thinking and their perspective on things, you would gain a lot more insight and clarity into why they do what they do and why they think what they think. So next time you start thinking thoughts, just try and take a step back and see things from their perspective. It's just interesting. I feel like it's always like the same message between all the elements, but I guess that makes sense because people tend to struggle with a pattern of thoughts and actions and judgments and expectations all revolving around the same topic. So, my lovely pile 2s, I hope that was very helpful for you. I hope that it helped give you some insight. If at first you think, no, that's not me, I don't charge into things, I don't expect people to do things like this, just think a little bit deeper into it, because that might actually be the case. All right, I hope this was very helpful and that kind of helped unlock something in you, gave you lots of things to think about this fun and spooky month of October. I hope you enjoy the rest of it, and we'll let your incense burn out all the way to the end. If you want to book a reading with me, there's information in the description below. All right, bye guys. Welcome, lovely pile 3s, to your reading. You had the orange gourd, and let's go ahead and get started right away. We have this rock here to represent what unconscious toxic expectations you have for yourself and others. Oh, I'm so sorry. Before we get started, let's go ahead and light your incense. You had sage. This one smells so good. So by lighting this, we're calling in your angels and spirit guides to help facilitate this reading. To cleanse the space and help make you aware of all your unconscious, soon to be conscious, toxic expectations, actions, judgments, and thoughts. The incense itself is going to represent air, the unconscious thoughts, and it will be the last one that we do this reading. And I'm going to let this burn all the way down to the end, and that will help let everything go. Let's go ahead and take a look at your expectations that you have of yourself and others. Last pile got the death card too. That's interesting. You expect others to be there for you through everything, to the end, to provide for you through thick and thin. I think you're expecting others to always be there, to always be able to give to you when they need to focus on themselves sometimes too. I think you're expecting from others what you also need to give to yourself. It's kind of like relying purely on others for love before you also work on loving yourself and caring for yourself. It's important to find others for that, and that can do that and provide that for you, but it's too much to expect them to handle all of it. It will slowly kill them. I think you're taking too much energy from others. You expect them to give more of their energy than you're willing to give in return, or that they can. You're expecting more of their energy than they're willing to necessarily give, or that they even can necessarily give. Let's see what the dragons have to say about this. I think others are being drained. You're expecting everything from them, and they can't give everything. You need to give to yourself as well. And I think you expect relationships to last forever, almost. And not all of them will. Some will just be in your life for a short time. Some will last for your lifetime. But when you go into a relationship expecting it to be forever, that puts a lot of pressure on the other person to provide that. And it might make them shy away. You want to find ways to give that same energy that you're looking for into the relationship and to yourself as well. So, and be open for new relationships to form. There's a lot of beauty in the newness of it. And let them just be where they are when they're new. Try not to force your expectations of it lasting a long time onto the other person. Just enjoy where the relationship is in the moment and go with the flow of it. I think that'll help a long ways. So, as a ritual to help you release this expectation, we are going to take this little rock and smash it. And by doing that, it's going to shatter those expectations and help you shatter them so that you can now accept people as they are, accept relationships and circumstances as they come. Calling in the spirit guides and angels of our lovely pile 3s, orange squashes, orange gourds, to release these now conscious expectations that they have of themselves and of others and the relationships around them. Oh, that one was the best and easiest and biggest shatter one to break so far, which means now that you see it, you'll be able to accept it and let it go. You'll be able to fully release this. I'm so proud of you. All right, that was super exciting. That shattered so well. So now we're going to take a look at what unconscious toxic actions that you're taking that you need to be aware of. For that, we have our alder leaf as our representative. And what we're going to do at the end to help you release those is to burn it. So let's go ahead and see actions these may be. Three of Blades, which is swords, heartbreak, and the Page of Swords, which is just information. I feel like you may be saying things that are hurtful to people. Whether you are aware or are intending them to be hurtful could be different for each person, but I think you say things that will get under people's skin, and I feel like you know this. If you're like in an argument with somebody and you know their soft points or their weak points in relationships and stuff, you know what's going to bother them, what's going to hurt their feelings, and you say it anyways. Let's see what the dragons have to say. A lot of fire energy. Interesting. Yeah. And can we see that? The Nine of Swords. Yeah, you can be very hurtful to others. Usually when you're frustrated or kind of in the heat of the moment, when you're feeling particularly passionate or angry, but you really need to take a look at what you're doing. This might be part of the cause of, I was going to say maybe why relationships aren't necessarily as strong as you want them to be or lasting as long as you expect them to. Because whether you realize it or not, the things that you say to people can be very hurtful. And they don't realize that you might just be saying it because you're angry. And whether you are or not, there's usually some truth behind it. And you have a way of speaking it that really hurts them. So you'll want to kind of take a step back, gain a higher perspective, and really feel in a little bit more about how you might be making them feel and how it might make you feel if those situations were reversed. Like, you know what you're most insecure about. How would you feel if they not only pointed it out to you when they would get angry, but dig at it in a way that was meant to poke, meant to hurt, and be sharp? That's what's going on here. Hope this helps. So, to help stop these actions, we are going to burn this leaf as a representation of burning away the things that we no longer want to be doing. So it's a bit of a tough burn. This is going to be hard for you to stop, but I believe that you can do it. Alright, so I hope these are all very helpful so far. It's very exciting. Harsh and hard, but exciting, because now you know. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at what unconscious toxic judgments are you making about yourself and others. We have this cup of water right here. What's interesting is while the others, I felt like they were judgments they were making about the other piles. I feel like the judgments they were making about others. For you, I feel like this is a judgment that you're making against yourself. It's a way that you're judging yourself. So it's interesting. Let's see what that is. I want to see what the dragons have to say. For some reason, I'm getting that you're not conscious of your part that you play in arguments. You're not realizing the faults of yourself in issue. Hold on, let's see. So obviously you are a very great person. There's no doubt about that. You're watching this video, you part of this community, you're a good person. But I think you think you're kinder to others than you are. You're not aware of how the words you say and the things that you say affect other people. You judge yourself better than others are necessarily judging you in certain circumstances. But sometimes you can be a little harsh on yourself too. But more often than not, I think a lot of times you are thinking that things are better than they are. And so to help combat that, really, all you need to do is just take a look around and make sure that everybody's having a good time. Make sure, really try and look and see, okay, is it just me that's laughing? Like genuinely laughing? Or are others too? Because all these things that you think are great are not necessarily as good as you might be thinking that they are. It's affecting others more than you're realizing. So, I think the judgment that we need to let go of is holding such a high esteem. Not that you shouldn't have good self-esteem. That's not what I'm saying, obviously. But making sure that it's grounded. So what we're going to do is let go of these overly boisterous, I guess, judgments of yourself. As I pour the water from this cup, those two will flow out of you, and you will be able to see how other people are feeling in situations as well. Calling the angels and spirit guides of my lovely pile 3, our beautiful orange gourd pile. Please help us let go of these unrealistic judgments that they have of themselves and help them to also see the perspectives of the people around them and some of the things that they are thinking as well. Thank you. Alright, my recorder is dying, so hopefully you can hear this one okay as well, but it might sound a little bit different. So, the last thing is to take a look at what unconscious toxic thoughts that you may be thinking about yourself or others. And for that we have our lovely incense representing air thoughts, and we're going to let it burn, continue to burn all the way down to the end, and that will help release everything. Not only is that going to help finish releasing the thought, the soon-to-be conscious thoughts, but also everything else that we have discussed. Let's go ahead and take a look what these are. I feel like you feel clouded in your judgment often. So you might start to recognize certain things, but then block it off. I think more than anything you also tend to get overwhelmed by things, and you're not able to think clearly. You struggle with that. Wow. Wow. So we have the High Priestess, the Emperor, and the Two of Pentacles. You have very strong thoughts, but you're blocking them. You're very intuitive. You can see things, and very strong thoughts, but because they're unbalanced at the moment, and you can see that, you're trying not to think the thoughts that you're thinking, which is overwhelming you and clouding your vision. It's clouding your thoughts, and you might struggle to think about what's right and what's wrong, and whose perspective is right and whose perspective is wrong, like who's in the right here, and what's the right path to take. And the answer is, there unfortunately is no exact answer. What you need to do is work with others, and if it's a person that you want to come into clarity with and find a balance with, then you need to find a balance point between both of your perspectives. You're both a little bit right and you're both a little wrong, and you can both compromise a little on your thoughts to come to a balance point in the middle where you'll both be happy. So yes, sometimes one person is more right or wrong than another, but you really need to pull yourself out of a situation and try and see it from an outsider's perspective, which you can do to know where to go from there. You hold on to your own perspective so much that you end up clouding your judgment on the right actions to take. And if you can find your higher perspective, which you are very good at when you want to be, then the answer will be very clear. I hope that was helpful. It's a lot to take in, I know. So I really hope that helped bring a lot of thoughts to mind that maybe you were avoiding, that maybe you weren't even aware of, and gave you a lot to think about this month. So I'm going to, outside of the camera, let your incense finish burning down, and it is going to help release all of the things that we talked about today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to book a personal reading with me, there will be information in the description below. And otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful, spooky October. Alright, bye! Welcome, our lovely pile 4 is our last pile, our butternut squash pile, one of my favorite squashes to eat. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to take a look at your unconscious toxic expectations that you have of yourself and others, actions that you're taking, judgments that you're making of either yourself or others, and thoughts that you're thinking. So let's go ahead and get started with your unconscious toxic expectations. To represent that, we have this lovely rock here. And at the very end, we're going to do a little ritual to smash the rock, which will in turn smash your expectations that are toxic and bring them to light, which we're about to do now, and help you to let them go. So, actually, I'm so sorry. Before we get started, we need to light your incense. We have Nag Champa. And the incense is going to represent your thoughts, the unconscious toxic thoughts that you're thinking, as well as help create a space for this entire reading. And we're going to let it burn out off camera to the very end. And that's going to help you release everything that we go over today. So let's go ahead and start with your expectations. What expectations do you have that are not serving you? You expect that you need to take care of everyone, or you need to stand up and be the strong one for everyone. Even when things feel too much and overwhelming for you, you're the one up there standing down the bullies, just standing up for everybody else, standing up for yourself. I think this is an expectation on yourself. You're asking a lot of yourself. You expect to have to be the one to always do this. Let's see what the dragons have to say about it. You can let others stand up for themselves. You expect that you need to always be the one to stand up for everybody else, but really you can kind of watch from afar, step in if you absolutely need to, but really take a step back from things. You don't need to stand up for everybody the way that you think that you do. And when you let go of those expectations, you realize that other people can take care of themselves. They can stand up for themselves as well. So, next time you come across a situation where you feel like you want to help stand up for somebody or be the strong one for them, step aside and just watch. Just watch how they handle it. If they really start struggling, you can step in. But I think you will find that you can enjoy your life a little bit more. You don't have to always be there expecting that something's going to go wrong and that you always have to be there to step in and take charge and handle the situation. You're very good at it, but you don't always have to do that. To the point where this is something that you need to let go of. I hope that resonated. I hope that helped a little bit. So, to help shatter your expectations, we're going to take this rock and shatter it. All right, let's go. All right, calling on the angels and spirit guides of pile 4, our butternut squash pile, we are going to help shatter their need and their expectations to always have to step in. Oh, I think you're going to be able to let this one go. I'm excited and so proud of you. And so they are gone. Well, that was really exciting. So, all right, let's go ahead now and take a look at what unconscious toxic actions you might be taking. So we already know that by expecting yourself to always need to stand up for others, I'm guessing that might be one of the actions, but let's see if there's anything else that needs to be looked at. Okay. Oh gosh, King of Blades. Again, it's just, oh, and the Queen too, the Emperor, that over, yeah, you're in your head. You're very, very logical, very smart, very smart. You're balanced between your masculine and feminine sides, but there's not enough emotion there. You're too in your head, you're too detached, and very strategic, but maybe to the detriment of others. Let's see what the dragons have to say. Yeah. Huh. Okay. Just a random new thought. For those expectations, maybe because you feel like you can stand up, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like this kind of brought a new thought to that. I think that you think that you can stand up for other people. You feel like you always need to, but you also expect others to stand up for themselves if they don't like something. If they don't like something that you're doing, you expect that they will tell you and stand up for themselves and fight for it. And sometimes they are, and you might just not be seeing it. So you're very strategic and you're going to go for what seems like the best idea to you, but that might sometimes be at the actual detriment of others. It might be hurting others, and they aren't always going to speak up for themselves. The Queen of Pentacles is always taking care of everyone. You need to make sure that everyone is actually being cared for. Like, take a look and see if you can. You're very smart. See if what seems like the way to go to you maybe isn't in the best interest of everybody. Some people need extra help or extra things that others do not. It's going to be hard work, but you need to come out of your head a little bit more and think about how your actions are affecting others. Or I guess realize, see, look and see how your actions are affecting others, not what you think, because you might think certain things and you might think that they can stand up for themselves, but come into the present moment and look at how they're reacting. Try and feel how they're feeling. See how they might be feeling. And you might see that it's a bit different than what you're thinking. So, actions are fire, and what we're going to do is, you have the hazelnut leaf here. So we're going to burn this as a way of releasing those actions. Oh, wow. This is the best burning leaf of all of them. So, you are really smart. And I think now that you are aware that this might be an issue, you'll be able to see it when it happens and maybe stop and ask people how they feel about a certain action that you're taking, how they feel about it, and ask them to be honest, and also try and recognize if maybe they're not being honest with themselves. And then you'll be able to, from there, think of the best course of action for the benefit of everybody. Well, that was super exciting. I'm so proud of you. You'll finally be able to really kind of help release some of these things now that you're more aware of them. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at what unconscious toxic judgments you might be making either about yourself or others. To represent that, we have this cup of water, and at the end we will slowly pour it out to help pour out or release the judgments that you're making. So let's see what those might be. Very interesting. Wow. I think you think others are being greedy and not generous enough with their time or money. I think you judge others for how much they give or don't give. And I think you also judge yourself for this a lot and try to be very aware of it. It's the same thing where you always expect that you need to kind of stand up for others or be there, or you expect them to do the same for themselves, and then you might kind of not realize and bulldoze over them when they don't stand up for themselves, or you might expect them to harder than they actually do. And so you are now judging them for how much they are giving or holding back. Very interesting. That Eight of Pentacles again. So to help release this, you really just kind of need to focus more on yourself. What are you what amount of work are you willing to put in? What are you willing to give? Both work-wise, money-wise, emotionally, thoughts, like effort into things. How much passion do you want to put into something? You need to decide how much you're willing to give and be okay and happy with that, regardless of what others do, because they're going to put in what they feel like they can and want to. Some people can give and put in more than others can, and that's just the way that is. And I think maybe, again, because you hold yourself feeling like, oh, you always need to be there for others, you need to stand up, you need to give money, you need to do this, you need to do that, that you then judge them for others not giving as much or being greedy or holding on to too much. When if you feel like you can't give as much of something, or that, okay, well, you don't want to be there for this thing, and it really is bothering you that you feel like you kind of are forcing yourself to, then maybe you shouldn't. And maybe you can also come to recognize that you have more in you, whatever it might be. You have more to give than the other person does. And so you shouldn't judge them for that. And yeah, my mind went blank, so I think that's where that needs to end. You need to decide how much you're willing to put in and give that as a gift. That's what you can do, and that's what you're putting in. This is not connected to anything else anybody else is doing. Alright, so let's go ahead and let go of that idea. Calling the angels and spirit guides of our lovely pile 4 butternut squash pile. Please help them release these expectations and judgments that they're having about how much others are giving and how much others are taking, and let them just focus inward on what they want and what they're willing to give. Interestingly, I think this one might be one of the hardest ones for you. I know you've got it in you, though. Alright, that felt really good. And we're on the final one. What unconscious toxic thoughts are you thinking? So that's probably going to fall very similarly into everything else we've already talked about. But let's take a look. What unconscious toxic thoughts are you thinking? There it is again, that 7 of Wands. You feel like you're going to need to provide for everybody. I think you think that you have worked harder than anybody else for what you've gotten, and that you deserve everything you have, and feel irritated giving to others when they may seem to have more, or maybe they got it easier than you did. You had to stand up to a lot of hardship and work really hard and go through a lot to get where you are today. And you don't want to have to give any of that away. You feel like you fully and 100% have earned and deserve everything that you got, which may be true, but you're holding on to that thought in a way that isn't beneficial for you. You're holding on to that as almost an excuse to, again, judge others for what they give or don't give. So every time you think a thought, there are 2 ways you can go with it. You can go down that path of thinking that others should give more, and maybe that they don't deserve everything they have, or that maybe you very much do. Or you can go down that path of, hey, look, I have this now, and I can be generous with it. These thoughts are trapping you, and you're not as happy as you could be, or as free as you could be, because you don't want it to seem like all that hard work was for nothing. You want everything that you went through to mean something, basically. You want people to recognize that you do deserve it because you went through all this shit for it. But what you need to do is recognize that for yourself. Other people aren't necessarily going to see that or give that to you. And so you need to let that go and come into the present of where you are now. Yeah, you did go through a bunch of shit. And in the end, it's all paid off. But ruminating on how much more you deserve it and everything you got is not helping you. And so when you can love yourself and be happy yourself for everything you went through to get where you are, you can feel like, yeah, I did that so other people don't have to. And I can give what I have now and share what I have now to make other people's lives just a little bit easier so that they don't have to go through all the shit that I had to go through. hope that kind of gives a new perspective or way to look at things. I'm so sorry you had to struggle as much as you did. So, to help let all those thoughts go, we're going to finish letting your incense burn out. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope this helped. If you want to book a personal reading, that information is in the description below. And I hope you enjoy a very fun and spooky rest of October. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.